This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 for 2025. And after years of iterative updates where barely anything changed, I have bad news for you. This thing is like excellent. Do not go look at it at the store because you will want one. We're going to look at it now. All right, why do I say that? Because this thing is expensive. It gets more expensive every year because, well, inflation. I suppose relative to what inflation has been, it could be worse. But here in the United States, this thing starts at $2,000. Wow, a lot of people find spending that much on a gaming laptop or a MacBook Pro or something like that really painful. So that's how much this is. But you know the deal with Samsung and pre-orders and trade-ins and yada yada. The base model is 256 gigs of storage, 12 gigs of RAM, but you can get the 512 gig for the same price as the base model right now. And their trade-ins in the United States, I don't know about anywhere else. Past years haven't been that great in some other countries, but in the United States, they're pretty good. So you can get up to $1,000 in trade if you had a Z Fold 6 or an S25 Ultra. You get like $900, I think, for a Z Fold 5, which is pretty good considering that's 2 generations old. So it's more about loyalty discounts to help you keep trading up. Like Apple, if you have the latest iPhone 16 Pro kind of thing, I think it tops out like $700 trade in there. On other brands even less. So obviously mostly it's about Samsung. So that's why I'm saying it's bad news, because this is the year that you actually really want to get this thing. Why do I say that? Because it feels like a normal phone when it's closed. Finally, no more like really tall, skinny, bizarro aspect ratio front display. So this one has a normal 21:9 aspect ratio display. There was a quick face unlock there too, which it does, by the way. It's a little bit bigger, 6.5 inches. So it's no longer like torture to type on this. You don't have to open it just to feel I need basic usability. It's nice stuff. It's also 120 Hertz VRR, 2600 nits max brightness. Same is true of the inner display for the brightness and for the refresh rate there. So that's nice, but that's great. The thinness, I know, in general with other normal slab phones, this fight to be the thinnest seems a little pointless. It's not like most of them are all that chunky, with a few exceptions. Okay, the S25 Ultra is chunky, but the rest of them, no. But when it comes to folding phones, because, well, geez, they are folding, right? When you double them over, they get awful fat. This one is not anymore. It's like a normal phone thickness when you have it folded shut. So it's no more this weird bulky thing in your pocket, and it got lighter, 215 grams versus 239 grams. So you're looking at something lighter than S25 Ultra and really a little bit more pocketable. And we're going to show you all the beautiful footage and comparisons, but until you experience it in person, it just doesn't really hit you, and you look at it and you go, oh, yeah. Now, the only bad thing is, of course, there are mega camera bumps here. Well, so when you lay it flat on the table, it does the weeble wobble thing, and it doesn't seem as thin when you lay it on a table next to another phone because it's getting jacked up by those cameras. The good news is the main camera, finally, the Folds have always been second class when it comes to cameras. The main camera is now 200 megapixels. So you're thinking like S25 Ultra. Not quite that, you don't have the same lens as the Ultra has. We'll talk about the camera quality. The telephoto and the ultra wide angle are the same as the last generations. The inner display is now 8 inches instead of 7.6. That's a nice jump in size, and the resolution goes up a little bit to match too. And the crease does get less noticeable, and it is, oddly, as Samsung puts it, thicker ultra-thin glass to make it even more durable. That's the other gotcha always with these, is worrying about durability. Samsung does sell insurance for a monthly fee of like $15, I think, or so. Another added expense, though, that is, isn't it, if you're worried about that. Me, personally, you know me, I've been reviewing every Fold and loving it, and I haven't had one break, but I know people who have, so it does happen. But anyway, it's tougher glass, supposedly, and it helps the crease be less noticeable. Off angle, you'll see it. Face on, you won't. The crease is what it is. It really is less noticeable, but typically with folding phones, when they're brand new, they are less creasy. As you use them, they get a little more creasy. So just because it looks fantastic right now, I can't say what it's going to look like in 6 months. It might get a little creasier. Is that a word? Another change for the inner display is the under display camera is gone. Some people are bummed about that because, well, now there's a hole punch and you can see it. But that 4 megapixel under display camera was horrible, right? You know, the quality was just bad. So now you have a 10 megapixel normal hole punch camera. I prefer that. I mean, you can turn on the taskbar to try to hide it up top or something, but then you lose screen real estate. I don't recommend doing that. I say just live with the little hole punch there. But you know, a lot of times when people are still doing video calls, you don't want to switch to the front one because you are multitasking and all that sort of thing, aren't you? And you get multi-window, you get 3 windows going at once. So you might not just be paying all that much attention to the Zoom call, or you might need to reference some information while you're having a call. So you do want to use the inner display. So good. This still has a USB-C port on the bottom. Nothing has changed there with that, and it's so skinny. The phone is just as thick as the metal connector of a USB-C port. They really can't make this any thinner. SIM card slot still, yes, thank God that hasn't gone away yet. The rest of it's pretty normal. The hinge, of course, is a lot thinner because, well, the phone is a lot thinner as well. In terms of performance, you have the Qualcomm Snapdragon Elite for Galaxy. For Galaxy typically means 100 megahertz higher overclock on it. 12 gigs of RAM. Unless you go with the 1 terabyte model, then you get 16 gigs of RAM. 12 is fine on a phone, honestly. Performance, as you would expect, is top-notch on this. Even though it's thinner, the thermals are fine on it. It gets warm on the back, doesn't get hot. Awesome for playing games thanks to the big display. A lot of Android games really make use of that, and it's a nice experience. So, sold on that. Okay, the cameras. We're not even going to talk about the tele and the wide angle. They're the same as they have been for 2 generations prior. All right, they're competent. They're okay. At least we have a 3x optical tele. I'm happy about that. And a wide angle. The main 200 megapixel, sure, it is an improvement. No kidding. Yeah, it doesn't have the ultras lens, like I said there. And I don't know what it is about Samsung phones pre-release, because we have this before it comes out. Often they get some software tweaks that help. The exposure on this, sometimes it overexposes highlights. I'm seeing some of that stuff. The quality is good and it allows for pixel binning, but not so much as you can see this close-up that I did of a bird using 10x digital zoom. And it still looks pretty digital zoomy, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's not everything I hoped for from a 200 megapixel sensor on this, but it is an improvement. And it's not like you're going to get this phone and say, man, I take crappy photos with it. You're not going to say that. We're talking about versus the cream of the crop, the best phones out there, like the S25 Ultra or the iPhone 16 Pro Max phones, that sort of thing. So competent, yes. S25 Ultra level, not yet. Fingerprint scanner and the power button. As you saw, face unlock, inner and outer, so you've got that going. Not changed from last year. Also not changed, unfortunately, is the battery, 4400 milliamp. You know, some people are going to say, well, they could have made it thicker, hid the camera bump and put more battery in. Yes, they could have, but I think the thin was the right decision, so I'm not going to argue with them. And the battery life on the folds have never been bad. They've been fine. They get through a day. They're not colossal, monumental, amazing, you know, but it's okay. That is what it is. And you've still got the same, sadly, I would like to see them change, is 25 watt wired charging. When you plug it in, this is ultra fast charging. I mean, not so ultra fast, sorry. And you've got 15 watt wireless charging and the usual reverse wireless charging on board. Of course, you have 5G. What is missing? The S Pen. How did they get this thinner? In part by removing the Active Digitizer S Pen layer, the Wacom EMR digitizer layer. So for those of you who use the S Pen, I like to do digital art, but that's gone. It's on option still. S25 Ultra is the only one. That said, Samsung found that the majority of folks didn't really use the S Pen with it. You had to get the special S Pen for folds. I didn't either. Why? Mostly because it's a very slippery display and it's really hard to control, whether you're taking notes or particularly if you're doing art. So it wasn't an ideal experience, and I personally didn't end up using it as much as I thought, but it is gone, folks. Gone. Now, the competition in the United States is a joke. There's just not much. There is the Pixel 9 Fold. Soon they're having an event, August 20th. There will be a 10 coming out. That one, about the same aspect ratio and a nice phone, but the problem with that one is the processor that they use. Their processor is just not real fast. Maybe something will change with the next generation, and the software is good, but the customizations. But Samsung has been doing this so long and has invested so much software engineering time into this, the multitasking, the multi-window, all of that stuff, making sure that apps extend to full screen, whether they support it or not, pretty well. Samsung has an advantage here, and OnePlus isn't even gonna bring their latest model here to the United States. So it's not like you have a lot of choices in the US. Those of you who are overseas, you have the Honor to choose from and other things, lucky you. But two last things to mention: IP48 dust and water resistance, same as the Fold 6 and the Fold 5, which means you can get it wet and it won't kill it. And dust resistance is for particles 1 millimeter or bigger, so kind of on the large size, but given the design of the hinge, I don't know how you keep everything out. As long as I can wipe this down with a wet cloth, or if I'm using it near the kitchen sink and it gets splattered and it's not going to die, I'm okay with that. Sure, it'd be fun if you could throw it in the pool and go, wow, that's fine, you know, but you can't do that here. Last thing is it runs Android 16 with, of course, Samsung's One UI on top, and you're supposed to get 7 years of updates with that. So, well, your $2,000 investment gets you something. So now you can see what I'm saying. This thing is just what we wanted it to be finally. Like normal phone on the outside, really awesome folding display that looks good, gets bright. It's the main camera is, well, it's a lot better anyway, but the price, and always the worry about the durability too. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos. Hit the notification bell so you know about them. Oh, and a thumbs up, please, if you like this vid.